Hey, it's Lowery Smith of the CommanderSmith here with what are we doing? Searching for the spotlight, Shalai and Hallar. Got a grip of cards here that we're going to go through. It's plus one count strategy going on here. It does a little bit of burn. Um, could be dope. We'll see what happens. We'll see where we're going. What this is we're basically building a deck from scratch. I got a pile of cards here, over here a little bit too. Oh, it's way over there. Whoo! So there is a lot of plus one counter support out there. And as some cards come in, I will continue changing the deck, but this is the one and only time that I will be building this live right now. You can always check out on Moxfield in like a day or two when I get the list up to see where it goes. You can just check under the Commander Smiths. Adam posts his list there as well. He just finished up Tom Bombadil last week, or has a few cuts left. Maybe I haven't checked lately. But that's kind of where he's at. No, Renshai, it's not going to be stacks. That's not how this is gonna go. Um, but like I said, it's gonna be plus one counters. I'm gonna try and have some proliferate in there, and I might even get some life gain strategies going on. I might have to develop the life gain stuff a little bit more, as it was like a late edition, as in like I'm recording it on a Thursday night. I think I saw it on like Tuesday. I was like, oh, that's a thing that could happen, and so I'd have to look at it potentially a little bit more. But I'm kind of excited for this to kinda happen, see what happens. Alright, oh, before I get to the deck building part, the Commander Smiths is a podcast that comes out every Monday night live on YouTube and then audio, all the podcast places on Wednesday before noonish. Um, that's a thing. We put out, shorts every week. We generally try and record on a Wednesday or Thursday night, deck building or, kinda updating decks or gameplay, and that's kinda what we do. We try and stay active, so if you give us a subscription, you will never be bored, unless you find me boring right now, then maybe don't, but that's on you. Some people enjoy us, whatever. Um, give a like if, you're watching this and you know us, it's greatly appreciated, and we're gonna try and, keep on moving forward here. Alright, the, uh the deck. All right, Chalai and Halar. It's one and a red and a green and a white. It's a 3/3 angel elf flying vigilance. Whenever one or more plus one counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai and Halar deals that much damage to target opponent. And so I'll probably call it SNH for the rest of the night. I don't have to say that whole thing. So deals that much damage to target opponent. So it's dealing damage to the opponent. There we go. All stacks you, Subtoji. Make it a Foon Shade and combo deck. I am not gonna do that. Not gonna do that. Now that is most of the time okay. For those of you that don't know, we play with proxies. We own all the cards that we have, but Adam makes them and we give them out to our patrons. And also, if you want to join our Discord, you got to become a patron. So there's a lot of perks to becoming a patron. And, the things that we don't generally do is we generally don't play combo, we do have proxies, we generally don't counterspell, and we, generally don't tutor. So, we try and avoid those things if we can or feel like such works, and those are kind of the rules that I'm going by. I don't think I have anything too bad in here. Obviously, not many counterspells, or at least blue counterspells, because red counterspells are fine, right? What I'm gonna start out with here. Um, I have these broken into that's draw, that's ramp, that's removal, that's protection, that's proliferate, that's damage enhancers, and then a bunch of counter bullshit over here that you don't really see. Let's do draw, right? Um, and generally keep it sexy. I mean, what's up, AJ? Thanks for joining. I don't want relationship. I just want bang bang bang. I don't want to know your name. I just want bang bang bang. There we go. There we go. Cook it up. Yep. I mean, the sexy part is, eye of the beholder stuff, but we're generally a pretty positive group. So, I like to think of myself half naked in a hot tub, bearscape, but whatever. Just kidding. Married, kids, all that stuff. Let's get into the draw package here. It's relatively small. Might have to add in some staples if I miss anything that are counter related that I should be adding in. More than willing, put it in the comments or in the comments with the stream here as we're going live. Instant Bow. The nice thing is it puts 3/1/1 counters on up to one target creature with trample or haste. So the creatures have to have trample or haste, but yada yada. You're always making that boo. And then you can sacrifice a creature. If it is the boo, you get to draw X cards and you're dealing X damage, which is its power. So that is kind of an interesting bit right there. Not sure if that'll make it, but I thought it warranted a spot. Angelic Sleuth is 2 and a white. I'm going to skip the CMC. I should start doing that. But 2/3 flying, Angel Advisor. Whenever another permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, investigate. Everything's going to have counters on it. It should. And so we should be able to at least get some clues to do some drawing. Muri's Guile, setting the top of the library 3 is nice when it comes to. It just hit me. I might not have Sensei's top in here. That might get added in later, but I like that more than Guile here. But resetting the top 3 and then drawing your pick of cards off the 3 is not bad. Leonore, Autumn Sovereign. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on up to one creature you control. Then, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. So it's a, adding counters, potentially drawing cards. That's kind of the hope. Etched Oracle. It is Sunburst, so you can at least get 3 counters on it. You can do pay 1 and remove 4 counters from it. Target player draws 3 cards. That's always going to be you. And so hopefully, maybe that makes it. That's kind of like a good bit. Shamanic Revelation, just drawing cards for the amount of creatures you control. A little bit of life gain there potentially. Sylvan Library, just got to be able to get some cards in your hand, and that might be what's going on here. Collective Unconscious, also drawing a card for each creature you control. I don't know how many creatures I'm actually going to control, but I need something that's going to draw me enough cards. Reckoner Bank Buster. This is here to remove charge counters, and then you get to draw a card and do some other stuff. But really, hopefully, the proliferate allows me to keep on drawing cards, and then also kind of crewing if I need to. But we'll see. Mindless Automaton. This came in the pre-con this time, but comes in with 2 1/1 counters. Discard a card, put a 1 counter on it, or remove. And you can always remove 2 counters from it to draw a card. So maybe that works. Kami of Celebration, 3/3. Whenever a modified creature you control. So you can look up modified on Scryfall, and then anything there that you want to play with, you can add in there. But whenever a creature you control attacks that's modified, exile the top card of your library. So whenever a modified creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So if you attack with 4 creatures with counters on them, you get to exile 4 cards. And so it is until the end of that turn. So it's a little risque, but that's a lot of card selection right there to hopefully help yourself. No fear, Mr. Hockey is here. That's true. That is true. Honor the God Pharaoh. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card, but it's draw 2 cards, amass 1, which is a 1/1 counter, and stuff like that. Esper Sentinel, drawing you cards. Everybody knows that one. Armorcraft Judge. When it ETBs, draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. Not bad at 4 mana in this style of deck. Camaraderie, also drawing cards for each creature you control and life, and they all get +1/+1. Tireless Tracker gives you clues for landfall, and then whenever you sack a clue, put a 1/1 counter on it, dealing damage. See, there's a lot of 1/1 counter on here, and that's what the hope is for. Inspiring Call, you draw a card for each creature with +1/+1 counter on it, and they all gain indestructible. Snake Umbra and Keen Sense are going to be incredible in here because whenever the creature that these auras are on deals damage, you draw a card. to an opponent. And so this goes on SNH, and every time a counter gets put on a creature, you get to deal damage. And so, one or more. But, it's like ping, 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 and you're going to draw a ton of cards off these two. These are going to be the best draw cards in here. Was there anything I hated? The problem is this is a short stack. I don't think I want to take anything out right away. I'm going to want to look at my curve first. Maybe the only thing I hate is really Mary's Guile. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Like it needs to be in between 15 and 20. So right now it's not awful. Maybe let's cut a lot of it's at 4, and that's a little bit of a problem. I'm probably gonna cut Collective Unconscious. Probably gonna get there, maybe, maybe. And a little bit of my problem is I don't have any early game other than Miri's Guile. Everything else takes a lot of setup, and that's gonna be problematic other than Esper Sentinel. So that's hard to cut, staples. Sylvan Library. Everything else needs a little bit more work. So Guile there, I'm probably gonna wanna add in top later, but we are what we are right now. Um AJ saying, Lao seems like you make a creature with a bunch of counters. I would add Rishkar's expertise and Soul's majesty. That's a good point. And I think that depends on where I go with the deck. In my mind currently, if I'm going tall, there are definitely some specific cards that I want to be playing, like Hydra's Growth Solidaria Heroes. Those are cards that we'll get to, but I'm kind of thinking that I want to play some Proliferate, which will add 1 counters to a bunch of creatures. And that's, I think, the way I'm going to end up going, especially if I go life gain. But I know what you're saying. And so if it does look like that those are the creatures that are going to end up being chosen, I agree with you. With Soul's Majesty, Rishkar's expertise. One of the Garrick's does it, and then Return of the Wild Speaker. So those 4 are really good with Go Tall decks. I have them um, in my Zangief deck because he's always tall type thing. So totally agree with you, man. Let's go through some ramp. Expand the sphere. It's like, look at the top X amount of cards. You get to put 2 lands into play if you find them, and if you don't put lands into play, you get to proliferate. It could be 1, could be 2, could be none. So I thought that was going to work pretty well here. I want that one in. Faeburrow Elder is something that's going to be able to tap for 3 mana. It is also 3 mana, but it's a good card. Mana Bloom, it's something with counters, and I was thinking there wasn't a lot of things that helped having counters on them when there are +1/+1 counters on them, but there are plenty of cards that are like Mana Bloom that can proliferate and be extra value. So we'll see what ends up making it. But I think I've ended up finding enough that we should be good. So I might cut Mana Bloom right off the top. Crystalline Sliver enters the battlefield with 1/1 counters on it for each mana, colored mana you spent to cast it. So that'd be 3 here. Then you can remove a 1 counter and then give you a mana, and then it taps to put a counter on it. Proliferation, stuff like that should help a lot. Glistening Sphere, ETB's tapped, but also proliferates, taps for a mana. I don't think we'll ever get the corrupted, so it doesn't matter. Kodama the West Tree, if you don't have this card, freaking go get it. It is so good in modified, auras, equipment, and this 1/1 counters on it. It's so good. Modified creatures you control have trample, and then whenever they deal damage, you get to go and get a basic land and put it into play tapped. It's so damn good. And even the reach on top of it. I need to get myself at least a second copy, or I need to convince Adam to make a proxy of it. Coalition Relic is here because you put counters on it, potentially the proliferate. It's nice and it attracts the deck. I don't think it's gonna make it here, but it's a 3 mana rock. Overflowing Chalice will probably make it because the counters stick around. Yeah, let's cut the relic. Just getting too old. It used to be a staple. old school staple. But you multi-kick it, get counters on it, proliferate, it'll get you more mana. It's pretty sweet that way. Fertile did. You can pay to remove a counter from it and go get a basic land into play tapped. It's just nice ramp. It's a little bit extra, but it's fine. Invasion of Gobakon. When it is, I don't think this is supposed to be in the ramp section. That's the protection. We'll do that there right away. Empowered auto generator, also something that can proliferate nicely. That's another one I probably will end up cutting. Astral Cornucopia, proliferating to make it bigger. So if you pay 3 and you get 1 counter on it, you can tap it to add mana and then proliferate 2, 3, 4. Just gets bigger as you go. Arcane Signet, another great card. Soul Ring, yep. Hamza. So this spell costs 1 less for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. And then creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. And that is what I would consider ramp. Reducing the amount of mana to spend on creatures will be nice. This is probably another one I'm going to get rid of. But Runaway Steamkin, whenever you cast a red spell, if it has fewer than 3 1/1 counters on it, put a 1/1 counter on it, remove 3 1/1 counters, and you add 3 red. But I think it's at least interesting, so we'll run with that for a bit. Herald of War, whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Angel spells and human spells cost 1 less to cast for each 1/1 counter on it. Now, S and H is an angel, so that will reduce the cost of that, and that's probably the only reason why I want this in here at this point. Once it gets kind of condensed, might be helpful. Scholar of New Horizons, human, but enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it, and then you can remove a counter from a permanent you control, search your library for a plains card, and reveal it. If an opponent controls more lands than you, you may put it into the battlefield tapped. If you don't, the card, put it in your hand. Not a bad one. Dockside Extortionist, yeah, probs. Jolene, the Plunder Queen. Whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a treasure token. If you would create one or more treasures, create a second one instead, and then sacrifice 5 treasures. Put 5 1/1 counters on Jolene. So, I don't think I have enough treasure support in here. So I don't know if this makes the cut, but we'll see. The Great Henge, counters, draws, mana. We talked about this on the podcast 2 weeks ago. It's crazy. Defiler of Vigor. For green permanents, you can pay 2 life for 1 of the green, and whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. It's going to be great in this deck. Rampant Rejuvenator. ETBs with 2 counters on it, and then whenever it dies, you get to search up to X basic lands where it is its power and put them in the battlefield. So no matter what, it's going to go and get you 2 creatures or 2 lands into play tapped, which is pretty on par for mana. But with the proliferate and adding more counters, this should get a lot of work done. Rishkar, Pima Renegade, and Jingyangu, Wildcrafter. They both allow your creatures with 1/1 counters on them to tap for mana, and they are good that way. Kami of the Whispered Hopes. If 1 or more 1/1 counters would be put on a permanent you control, add another one. And then in this, taps for X mana, any one color where X is its power. And so hopefully you can get a lot of counters on it. Gyre Sage, evolve. So whenever you have a creature that comes into play that's bigger than it, put a 1/1 counter on it, taps to add a green for each 1/1 counter on Gyre Sage. Can get you there. Druid of the Anima, taps for green, white, or red. Incubation Druid, if it has a counter on it, it can tap for 3 mana of any color of a land that you control. Ordeal of Nylea, whenever this creature that it's attached to attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. If there are 3 or more counters on it, sacrifice it, go and put 2 basic lands into play tapped. It's a crazy good card and +1 counter decks. Song of Freyalise allows your creatures to tap for any color, and then you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance, trample, and indestructible until end of turn. And so I think kind of what we were talking about earlier, AJ, was like, I think I want to go for giving all creatures 1/1 counters and then have multipliers on that, kind of like that Kami of Whispered Hope to add another one, and then just that's multiple triggers. You know, if you have 5 creatures and then both of them get 2 counters on it, that's 10 damage divided however you so wish among people. It's I think it's gonna be kinda cool. Biophagus gives you mana, and if it's a creature, +1/+1 counter. Thornton's Skate Familiar, red and white spells cost 1 less. Birds of Paradise gives you any mana. Woo! I didn't cut too many there. 3 cards. Let's go through and just see if there's anything I definitely wanna cut. Um, Play all right there. Um, I think Jolene goes. Unfortunately, because it's nice because it gets you a treasure, but I just don't have enough going on there with the treasures. Herald of War probably goes. I like the idea of Runaway Steamkin, but 3 red ain't gonna do me much other than Fire Emancipation. I let's cut that. Bump, bippity boppity boo. I like to proliferate, crystalline, Fabro Elder. All right there. We have too many. We're gonna have to cut that back still, but that's okay too. Um, let's go with removal. 22 minutes. We aight. All right. Let's try and find the other one too. All right. Scavenging Ooze and Lion Sash, removing cards from the graveyard. If they're creatures, you 1/1 counters on it. Um, I saw this do work at the Minneapolis Magic Con, and it did a lot better, but I feel like that incremental counters put on it is going to be really nice in this kind of deck. The creatures grow, and you can kind of control that kind of stuff. My problem always is about spending that mana, though, but it still might not be a bad deal. Chandra's Incinerator, whenever you deal damage with S and H, you can also do that much damage to one of their creatures. It's gonna be real good in here. Real good. Aberrant, it's an X spell, put X counters on it. If it's 5 or more, you're gonna draw a card, and whenever it deals damage, you get to destroy an artifact or enchantment. It does work in Lucia Maga's Kane. It's pretty sweet. Steelbane Hydra, X Hydra, and then you can remove counters to destroy artifact or enchantment. Bane of Progress is going to come down and destroy a lot of artifacts and enchantments and put that many 1/1 counters on it. It's going to do a lot of work there. Regna's Sanctions, and so again, going back to AJ's point, this is something that might just go tall, and Steelbane Hydra, Aberrant, like it might just be worth having bombs every turn that just goes. Um, so we'll see. We'll see where those are gonna go, right? Ragna Sanctions taps down your opponent's creatures but 1, and then 1/1 counters on all your stuff, which is nice. Canker Bloom, you can sacrifice it to destroy an artifact, enchantment, or proliferate. So all of that is relevant here. Pelucranos, the monstrous, puts 1/1 counters on it and can deal damage to opponent's creatures. So it does a bunch of work in that regard. Ruinous Intrusion. Exile target artifact or enchantment. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, where X is the mana value of the permanent exiled this way. That's a lot of mana. The exile is kind of nice, but I mean, I probably just have enough artifact and enchantment removal on creatures, which is what I'd want anyway. Ravenous Slime. If a creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it and put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the power of the creature exiled. So That should be nice. Contagion Engine is -1/-1 counters on each creature target player controls. Pay 4, tap it, proliferate twice. Not a bad deal. Damning Verdict, destroy all creatures that with no counters on them. Kind of a non-bow in these two because you're putting -1/-1 counters on their stuff, and so that would count for this. But more than likely, they won't match up, and they're both kind of removal bits anyway. Hopeful Initiate, you can remove 2/1/1 counters from among all counters you control. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Has training, so it can get 1/1 counters on it. Constable of the Realm. I'm gonna have to read this one. This came in the pre-con, but whenever one or more are renowned, so if it deals damage, you put counters on it, and then whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on it, exile up to one other target non-land permanent until this leaves the battlefield. So not too bad with the proliferate and everything gets +1/+1. I'll let it stick around for a bit. Vigilance, monstrous 3, and then whenever it becomes monstrous, exile all artifacts and enchantments. Um, Questionable. Shine Wind, 1/1/1 counter, and then you can remove it to destroy an enchantment. So that's questionable too, but the proliferate, the more 1/1s. Pay 2, Ion Storm. I got this. This is the first time I've gotten this one. This was in the pre-con, but 2 mana, remove a 1/1 counter or a charge counter from permanents you control. Deals 2 damage to any target. Plenty of options there. Chandra's Ignition. I was just thinking, I got a Vigor in here. It's kind of a Wrath, but they're probably both unlikely. I kind of my removal at this point, so I might just get rid of that for now. Ashling the Pilgrim. You can pay 2, put a 1/1 counter on it. If this is the third time the ability has resolved this turn, remove all 1/1 counters from it, and it deals that much damage to each creature and each player. So, potentially, put 2, 4, 6 on it for 6 mana, and you're dealing 6 damage to everybody. Could be fun. Could be interesting. Caldera Hellion has Devour 1 when it ETBs. Deals 3 damage to each creature. And so Devour is you sacrifice creatures, and for as many as you sacrifice, you put 1/1 counters on this. So if it's like Devour 2 or 3 or whatever, they'll get 3 counters. I had Devour in here. I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea, but it just doesn't really work for a lot of things. So I think I'm just going to kill all the Devour stuff. It's not really worth it. Get out of here, Paul. Urbrask, you kidding me? You kidding me? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't though. I don't think that's a good. I don't think that'd be a good ad. Walking Ballista. As I said, there are some potential combos in here. And this just kind of works with all the counters that are going on. So, yay! We'll see what happens. Ordeal of Perforos. The same thing with the counters. Whenever it attacks, put one on there. If there's 3 or more, sack it. 3 damage to a creature or player. We're gonna cut that. That ain't worth it. And Chaos Warp hits anything, everything. Did I not put? I don't have Generous Gift in here. We'll see if that makes it too. But there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20. There's plenty there. It just depends on what I can hit. So that ain't bad. God, there's a lot of protection. That's gonna have to get cut down. Let's go with the proliferate. That's just basically there for the proliferation. Pollen Bright Druid, ETB, proliferate. Unnatural Restoration, return a permanent from your hand, proliferate. From the graveyard to your hand, proliferate. Evolution Sage, which is land, fall, proliferate. Sword of Truth and Justice, whenever it deals damage, to put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control, and then proliferate. There for that. Grateful Apparition, whenever it deals damage, proliferate. Filigree Fector, uh, sacrifice an artifact, proliferate. Throne of Geth, sacrifice an artifact, proliferate. And then you have Park Heights Maverick. Has dethroned, so it has the potential to put 1/1 counters on it. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or dies, proliferate. So, not awful. And then Thirsting Roots could have been in the ramp section, but go and get a basic land into your hand or proliferate. So, they're mainly for the proliferation. Let's look at the damage dealers too. Ugh. Fire Emancipation is tripling stuff. Fiendish Duo is deals damage to an opponent. So the big thing is you got to make sure it doesn't say like combat damage. And I don't think any of these do, but um, so Fiendish Duo doubles the amount of damage. Goblin Goliath, you got to pay 4. And if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent this turn, deals double that damage instead. ETBs get you some goblins. If a source would deal damage to an opponent. So the nice thing is this is bad, kind of, because you have to deal the damage. This and you got to pay the mana too, but this one is if any source, that's your opponent's. And to whereas Fiery Emancipation is whenever a source you control. So that's tripling from just you, and this is doubling for everybody. So Goblin Goliath goes away. Solfim, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, deals double that damage to a player or permanent instead. That's what SNH is doing. So might as well double that damage, right? 4 mana, it's cheaper than the sixes over there. You can make it indestructible. I don't know if I like the idea of discarding 2 cards for yada yada, but not bad. Uncivil unrest. Non-token creatures you control have riot, which is nice. Because it allows it to have it haste or put a 1/1 counter on it. And then if a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So that's not just combat damage, that's all damage. And plenty of cards in here. Torbran will increase the damage by 2. Strionic Resonator can potentially double up on counters, on a proliferate, on the damage being dealt by Shalai. It's pretty versatile in here, but it's not bad. Gisela is going to be doubling the damage and having it to you. Works in here a bit. And then Thundering Raiju, whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. So it should be able to do a lot of damage. But it's giving counters. I kind of like it. I don't know. We'll see. And this is probably too many like damage enhancers. Let's just say that. That's too many damage enhancers. So we'll have to cut that back quite a bit. I'm going to grab a drink. I'd say we're half done. There's a lot of +1/+1 bullshit that we'll go through at the end. All right, let's go through protection. This might be the first battle I use, but when a invasion of Gobakon ETBs look at target opponent's hand, you may exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may play it, but cast 2 more to cast. But the backside is the dope part. At the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on each creature that attacked this turn. So, well, that works. Then you can sacrifice it. Creatures you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So that is nice because it feeds into the 1/1 counters. It gives protection. It's pretty sweet that way. Selfless Savior is just puppers that sacrifices itself to give something indestructible. All in back Escort does the same thing for +1/+1 counter creatures. Not a bad deal. Semester's End is something that blinks and then puts 1/1 counters on stuff. Unbreakable Formation. All your creatures get indestructible, and if it's your main phase, put a 1/1 counter on all of them together forever. You pay 1, choose target creature with a counter on it. When that creature dies this turn, return that card to its owner's hand. So a nice little protection bit there. The Furious Protection to phase everything out. Rhythm of the Wild is creatures you control can't be countered, and they all have non-token creatures have Riot, which is that haste or 1/1 counter. More damage? You're trying to do the Kylo Ren gif. More? All you want is just like one of those to hit though. And so it might be, if I'm going back to it, it might be like Giselle. I like might be Uncivil Unrest. Sulfim and Torbrand might end up in the next deck. So maybe that's where I'm going with it. And so it might be Giselle, Uncivil, Unrest, Fiery Emancipation, Fiendish Duo off the top. Thundering Raiju might have a chance. Let's cut Sulfin and Torbrand just because I think I can use them the next time I build, which is Saint Traft and Rem. And then Strionic Resonator has a chance. So I don't have a problem with that. Where are we? Guardian Skill Lord. Backup. So whenever a creature attacks, return target non-land permanent, this creature card with mana value X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, where X is a creature's power, which is kind of like it's kind of like Sun Titan, but you're putting counters, stuff like that on. Goro Goro, giving your creatures haste, but also paying 5 because everything is going to have the modified bit. You can make a 5/5 red dragon spirit. Shalai adds 1/1 counters, gives everything hexproof. Invigorating Hot Springs allows your modified creatures to have haste and can move around 1/1 counters for you. Nice in that regard. Heroic Intervention, indestructible hexproof. Who doesn't like that? Hinder Vines prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by creatures with no 1/1 counters on it. And so your creatures are still dealing damage in the blocking escapade. Spike Weaver. It comes in with 3/1/1 counters on it. You can pay 1, remove a counter from it, and creatures deal no combat damage this turn. They'll proliferate and putting more 1/1 counters on there. All good stuff. Vigor allows all your creatures to block. The damage is prevented, and you're putting that many 1/1 counters on it. It's good. Dense Foliage doesn't allow any creature on the battlefield to be targeted by spells. The Oversoul will give SNH indestructible and flying, so and +2/+2. Silk Guard gives all modified creatures hexproof until the end of turn, so 1 green, and you can add 1/1 counters if needed, but it works. Kerberos Harvest Celebrant. It's X spell, putting that many counters on it, and then you can remove a 1/1. Oh, well. Remove a 1/1 counter from it, prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn to another target creature with a 1/1 counter on it. So nice little protection for stuff for damage. Tyrant Guard, Ravenous again. So if X is 5 or more, ETBs draws a card. You can sacrifice it, and then creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. Nice little protection there. Cauldron of Souls is nice. You tap it, choose any number of target creatures. You can choose your opponents as well. But each of those creatures gains persist, which means they come back with a -1/-1 counter on them. A lot of these creatures come into play with +1/+1 counters, so those -1/-1 counters would go away. Thusly, always kind of able to save your creatures with Cauldron of Souls. Jared, this kind of gives Monarch, but if I have Monarch, prevent that damage and put that many 1/1 counters on it. If damage would be dealt to Carithion, put a bunch of 1/1 counters on it. I'll probably cut it. Runes of the Deuce gives SNH +2/+2, double strike, and trample. Makes it a big fatty. It's nice. Probably the one that I like the most. Runes of the Deuce is probably gone. Because the first one at least gives indestructible. This one gives lifelink, and so when it's dealing the damage, you gain that life, but also the fire breathing. So Scourge of the Noblest, +2/+2, fire breathing, and lifelink if it's white. So Dusk Corona gives SNH +2/+0 and basically unblockable for 1 red. It's potentially good. Scourge of the Throne has Dethrone, allows your creatures to untap. The uh, for the first time each turn, if attacking most life, untap all attacking creatures as face. I think I'm not a huge fan of multiple attack steps. It just creates a really long turn. And so that's kind of more on me type thing. And it's only going to be dealing like 1, 2-ish damage. You know what I mean? So whenever one or more modified Aki Battle Squad for 6 mana, 6/6. Whenever one or more modified creatures you control attack, untap all modified creatures you control. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. Um, this is at least more on brand, but I'll probably get rid of it. Bramblewood Paragon. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. That's cheap. All creatures with 1/1 counter on it have lifelink with Abzan Battle Priest, Swiftfoot Boots. Everybody knows that. Greaves, you know that. The crowd goes wild. You can add 1/1 counters and stuff, but each creature with a 1/1 counter on it gains trample until end of turn as a sorcery. Tuskguard Captain gives trample to 1/1 countered creatures, and Abzan Falconer gives flying to 1/1 countered creatures. Family's Favor is kind of a cool one. Whenever you attack, put a shield counter on target attacking creature until end of turn. It gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, remove a shield counter from it. If you do, draw a card. So it's kind of protection, but if it doesn't die in combat, that shield counter stays, and then like you can proliferate it, and these creatures. I like the idea of it. It's a cool card. We'll see where it goes. Champion of Landholt, creatures with power less than champion have to can't block. And so it's just going to get bigger and bigger whenever you add or counters to it. Whenever you have creatures come into play, it's going to get your stuff through. Let's see. I think the crowd goes wild is gone. I like those two. Lifelink is also nice. I think I probably have too many auras. And I don't necessarily want SNH to be real aggressive, so we can get rid of Dusk Corona. I like Scourge, Cauldron, Tyrant Guard, Hubris, Shield for the Indestructible is nice. Spike Weaver is stopping combat. Yeah. I don't know how much I care about haste. I have a couple of instances, like I think Girl can go away. I think Shalai wants to stay here. Bringing stuff back with that is going to be potentially nice. I mean, Rhythm of the Wild is just kind of better. Fierce Protection. Phasing is nice because like it doesn't get rid of the 1/1 counter. So the blinking is kind of rough. I like Together Forever, Unbreakable Formation. Let's get rid of Semester's End for what I was just saying with the blinking. Indestructible, Indestructible. Is this just too much work? Each creature that attacked this turn. 3, 3's not bad. 2, 3. Woo, woo. You and others can attack it. When it's defeated, exile it and cast it transformed. That's kind of cool. I like that for a while. All right. I had Vigor in there. There we go. Let's see. New name. Calvin. Do I have the Red Terror in it? Yes, I do. That's in the +1/+1 counter bullshit part that I haven't gotten to. And we'll see if that makes it because it is basically an infinite combo, which I try and avoid. But it's basically the only place I'm going to use it. All right, we're getting into let's get into the life gain package here. Um, and I don't know how much I'm going to want to get into this because there are some nice things that happen, but I don't know if there's enough for it. So Essence Warden, Soul's Attendant, all whenever any creature comes into play, you gain life, which is nice. Lathiel, the bounty is Dawn. Um, 2/2 lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, distribute up to that many 1/1 counters among any number of other target creatures. So if you're gaining enough life, that can be nice. Spirit Link, put this on S and H, and then you're gaining that much life. Spike Feeder, it's 1/1 counters. You can remove a 1/1 counter, gain 2 life. Again, that goes infinite with uh Archangel of whatever, but whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on everything. So you continue to put 1/1 counter on this. Your whole army gets huge and yada yada. So if I'm okay with that, why can't I be okay with the other things? But Cradle Vitality, whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on target creature for each 1 life you gained. So if you put it on, if Shalai is gaining life for each damage that's happening, you have enough mana to put more counters on it. Might be kind of cool. Ordeal of Heliod. I had the other ordeals in there. This one gains 10 life whenever you have 3 or more counters on it and you sack it. Probably gone. Probably not worth it at that bit. But Nykthos Paragon, whenever you gain life, you may put that many 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Do this only once each turn. So more than likely, you know, that's adding counters. And then more of it was just kind of like these 3 creatures, and I'd have to go and see if there's others like it. But whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on these things, then you get to scry with that. This just gets big. And then if it has 4 or more, it has flying and vigilance. And if it has 10 or more, it has indestructible. So I was thinking that'd be kind of cool. And then here's the other thing. This is infinite um with the god damn it. It's in the removal part. Where what is it called again? Nope. It is there we go. Walking Ballista. So that goes infinite together, but also just throwing it on SNH, you give it life link, and then you somehow gain life to put a counter on SNH, which deals the damage, which gains you the life, and rinse and repeat. So it's just kind of infinite there. So that's the lifelink part, and there's some good support that I could be adding in here, and some other things I didn't dig deep enough, but I kind of really like this part. So I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let's go with some of the enhancers. Hydra's growth enters, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of 1/1 counters on enchanted creature. And so this is that other way. So there's the go tall, which is what this card would do, or the go wide. Um, and even in the go wide section that I think I want to do, it it entails having cards in there that go tall. So Solidarity of Heroes doubles the amount of counters on a creature, and then you can strive. So pay 2 more to affect another creature. So we'll get rid of those. Fractal Harness with the X, you get to create you know, 1/1 counters for the X, and then whenever equipped creature attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on it. Pretty similar to like Hydra's growth, Solidarity of Heroes. I like this, and I haven't played with it, but if we're going wide, we're getting rid of that. Botanical Brawler. Whenever it enters the battlefield with 2/1/1 counters on it, has trample, and then whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters on put on another permanent you control, if it's the first time 1/1 counters have been put on that permanent this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Botanical Brawler. So I think if I went wide or proliferated, I'd get to put a lot of like a lot of 1/1 counters on this. I believe that's how that would work. Um, so that seems fun. Primal Vigor. I think I'm actually going to get rid of this. I'm not really going to have too many tokens. And I think this probably works better in my Lucia Kane deck. So we'll cut that for now. Vorinclex. If you would put, you know, Trample Haze 6/6, one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, and it makes it tougher for your opponents to put counters on that stuff. I don't know. I don't know if this is something that I want in here. It's I think a lot of the like hardened scales type cards which add the one are cheap. And that's kind of what I'm thinking that I want to have happen. And then, my draw is kind of in this my so I think I'm gonna cut Vorinclex, and that feels bad. It just feels bad. The Ozolith and resourceful defense basically is, if something dies, you get to save your counters and then put them on something else later. Conclave Mentor, if one or more 1/1 counters are put on something, put another one on there. Whenever this dies, gain life equal to its power. That's Conclave Mentor. Colonia Hydra, whenever this attacks, you get to double the amount of counters on everything you have, which is very different than just one creature, I would consider. And then Lae'zel, if you have put one or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control or on yourself, put that many +1 of each of those kinds of counters. So those are adding things, adding counters, and I kind of like that bit right there. Those ain't bad. But again, Ozolith, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target permanent you control. So this right away, this is at combat, beginning combat. So you're kind of going back and forth with that. From target permanent you control to another target permanent. I wonder if that'd be interesting. I wonder if you could pay 5 and just remove as many from one to another and then move that back and forth and just deal a bunch of damage with SNH. That's not bad. So I like this little package right there. We'll probably stick with that and maybe add to it or not. So right now I really like the idea of the life gain because I think there's support in it and it gives a little bit of extra bit. I don't know if that's part of it, but all right. Phylath, World Sculptor. This is something that, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put 4 1/1 counters on target plant you control. And then when it ETBs, put a bunch of for each basic land you control. Um, since this goes tall, not wide, probably get rid of it. We'll probably cut that. Torrens, First of the Angels, human. 2/2 has training, and then whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1. So it's just kind of going wide as you're kind of going wide, and then it allows for potentially more 1/1 counters to go out and about. Avenger of Zendikar creates tokens, puts 1/1 counters on all of them with the landfall. It's going to get some work in, I think. Animation module. Whenever one or more 1/1 counters are placed on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. If you do, create a colorless servo. Um, and so if you proliferate and put you know, as much mana as you have left over, you can just create a bunch of servos that way. Twilight Drover. Whenever a token leaves the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Twilight Drover. I don't really have a lot of tokens on here. Whenever a creature token. I don't like it's not a big selection, and I know I'm gonna cut down big time on this, so I likely will cut Twilight Drover. Basari's Lieutenant. Um, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control when it ETBs, and then whenever it or another creature you control dies, if it had a 1/1 counter on it, create a 2/2 white knight with vigilance. And so it's 4 mana, and if your creatures die, you get to put a 2/2 knight into play. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. Protection from multicolored, vigilance. I don't know if that stuff matters. All right. Get a 1/1 counter on it, where X is the number of other creatures on the battlefield. So that can be pretty big. Then pay 3, remove 1/1 counter from it to create a white spirit creature token with flying. I think I can cut that too. I mean, like, it's nice because you can it's one of those go tall and wide cards, but I think we got better, different. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them have base power toughness, 4/4, flying, and angels in addition to the other types. I could probably get rid of this too, especially if I'm gonna go with the, life gain strategy. Whenever you have a creature Swarm Shambler, whenever you have a creature targeted by an opponent, uh, any creatures with 1/1 counters on it, you get to create a 1/1 green insect creature token. Then you can kinda keep on pumping it up a bit. Um, I can have that hang around a little bit, I guess. Scurry Oak has Evolve, and then whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on it, create a green squirrel. I think that kinda works because of the proliferate and hopefully putting creatures or stuff out there. Devour, I already said I'm gonna cut that right away. There's a handful of that stuff, and it's just like, I no thanks. At the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each 1/1 counter you've put on creatures under your control this turn. Um, that can create a lot of counter or like, but again, it's at 5. I don't know how much I like it. Then whenever one or Herd Baloth, whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on it, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. And so, I don't know. I don't know. They're probably both cut. I want it to be cheaper than that. Obadiah, what up? Angel and Elf Tribal are already bad enough. Combining them, this card could really suck to face. Probably has some truth to it. Also human. So just a handful of tokens. Probably get rid of Swarm Shambler at this point. Um, I probably just want Avenger. I like Basari's Lieutenant. It's a little bit of protection after a Wrath or whatever. But these two are probably gone as well. This is at least on theme with the 1/1 counters being placed on it. Has Evolve. We'll get rid of Torrens as well. So a small token package. Not a big deal. NBD. All right. Here's some bullshit. We're at an hour. That ain't good. I mean, we've already cut that much, and I'm not even trying. So that's at least nice. This is going to be aggressively cut. And we will probably categorize a little bit, try and do that as we go, and we'll see if that can help us as well. So let's take half the stack. Victory's Envoy is putting a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control at your upkeep. 5 mana is a bit, but putting 1/1 counters on everything is dope. Sarah Redeemer is whenever a creature with power 2 or less ETBs put 2/1/1 counters on it at 5 mana. I'm going to straight up just counter that. I don't want that. Macias the Lunarch. X is 1/1 counters, and then you can tap it to either put one on or one counters on everything by removing one from him. So I'm all right with that. That's just the 1/1 counter on everything argument right there. Collective Effort puts a 1/1 counter on each creature your target player controls, which is you. You can destroy an enchantment or a creature with power 4 or greater. So actually, this could have been in the removal section, and I'd be down with that too. So I like that that has a dual use. Felidar Retreat makes tokens and puts a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. They gain vigilance until end of turn. Cathar's Crusade is putting counters on everything. This is like an auto include in here. I hate the card, but I will put it in here because it's going to be crazy. Teething Wormlet. Artifacts coming into play, putting 1/1 counters on it. We're going to cut that right away. Scute Mob. And then you get to put 4 counters on it if you have 5 or more land every upkeep. And so that's kind of a going tall kind of card. I don't hate it, but it's not really the way that I think the deck is going, but it's so cheap. It's so cheap. So that might just happen. I might find the removal bit. Where'd the removal part go? Doo-doo-doo-doo. There we go. We'll get collective effort in there. All right. Avatar of the Resolute, reach trample ETBs, put a 1/1 counter on it for each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. So again, this is a going tall type card. So we'll see what happens there. Curion Beastcaller, whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever it dies, distribute the 1/1 counters on it. We'll consider that a going tall card. Wildborn Preserver, Flash Reach. Whenever another non human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X counters on it. And that seems consistent, and that seems like it's going to do a lot of work. It's kind of feels like it's going to be really good, but that'll be going tall. Whenever you cast a 1/1 counter, and then you can pay 6 to double it. I don't think I'm going to have enough to make that work, so we can cut that. Roaring Earth, landfall, put a 1/1 counter on a creature, or channel it for X. Put X 1/1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 green spirit creature with haste. This is just a one-off. I don't think that's going to be very nice. Rite of Passage. If your creature survives any damage, you get to put that many 1/1 counters on it. Could be nice with the Chandra's Ignition, or the Vigor is nice with that. I just limited. We'll say that's a limited section. Rite of Passage. Curse of Predation. Whenever a creature attacks enchanted player, put a 1/1 counter on it. That helps your opponents as well, but we'll probably get rid of that. Retreat to Kazandu. It does have the gain 2 life, so if we go the life gain route, that works, but also landfall, 1/1 counter on a creature, so limited. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, makes tokens, puts 1/1 counter on each creature you control, so that is in that regard. Bone Scales, equipment, whenever it attacks, put 4 1/1 counters on that creature. That'll be the going tall route. Sequence Engine, pay X, exile a creature card with mana value X, and create a fractal with that many 1/1 counters on it. Um, I think that's probably too slow. Probably too slow. We'll get rid of that. Scourge of Skolova. Trample ETBs with 2/1 counters. Then you can sacrifice another creature, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Also, probably just sacrificing your own stuff sucks if you don't actually have like a engine going. That's why Devour is no good. We'll cut that. Phantom of Nantuku, trample, comes in with 2 counters on it. And you can tap it to put a counter on it. It's kind of like a go tall kind of card, maybe. Undergrowth Champion is landfall, put a 1/1 counter on it. This is a go tall thing. Mana Gorger Hydra is something that I think that I want to do, but whenever a player casts a spell, it goes tall. So I like that one. Renegade Crassus Evolve. Whenever this evolves, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. So that's for everything. Forgotten Ancient. Whenever a player casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on, and then you can move it around. So that's a go tall. Woodland Wanderer comes into play. It's going to get 3 1/1 counters on it for the amount of colors that you spent on it. So it's like a 5/5 Vigilance Trample for 4 mana. Probably not good enough in this regard, or not really what we need here. Sand Steep War Riders. It bolsters X, which is nice, but we're only going to have like 1 or 2 artifact tokens to take that effect, so it's probably not going to happen in here. Increasing Savagery, put 5, or the flashback puts 10 1/1 counters on a card That's a going tall kind of card. Um, Regnata puts 1/1 counters on creatures when they ETB. That'll be its own thing. Loyal Guardian, 1/1 counter on your creature if you control your commander. That works. Hero's Bane is another one that ETBs for creature or 4 counters on it, pay 4, double the amount that are on it. So that's a go tall. Drum Gully, 1/1 counters on non-human creatures when they ETB. That's that one. Boborgamos, 1/1 counter on each creature you control if it whenever it deals combat damage. That's it's too expensive, my friend. You gotta go. Rubble Belt Raiders, whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it for each attacking creature you control. So this is a go tall type card. Course of the Conclave, you can pay more mana to put counters on it, stuff, but it's 8 mana. It's too much. Dramaka, flying. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, bolster 2, which is putting 1/1 counters on your smallest creatures. That one might be worth it as a 5 mana 5/5 flyer. I don't know. That's probably just intermediate. Yoshin Dissident. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So that is in the intermediate. Phytohydra. If damage would be dealt to it, put that many 1/1 counters on it instead. So that's a go tall type card. Whenever damage is dealt to Siegehorn Ceratops, put 2 counters on it if it survives. Pledge of Unity. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, gain a life. Oath of Ajani. Planeswalker spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, but also ETBs puts a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Ajani the Great Hearted. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty ability on other planeswalkers, gaining 3 life. Creatures have vigilance. This Ignition Team enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of tapped lands on the battlefield. This is going to put a ton of counters on this guy, and then also you can target land becomes, yeah. It's gonna put at least 7 counters on it, but it's gonna be huge. That's a going tall one. Devour, we'll get rid of that. Praesea's Dragon, Devour, we'll get rid of that. Falcon Wrath Marauders. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put 2/1 counters on that. That's just not doing enough for this kind of deck. Stormbreath Dragon, monstrous 3 for 7. It deals damage for as many cards on a player's hand. I don't think it's doing enough in this one either. Magmasaur, 5 mana, ETBs with 5/1 counters on it. During your upkeep, remove a 1/1 counter from it or sacrifice it and deals 1 damage for each one counter on it to each creature without flying and each player. So that's kind of removal. There's the terror that we talked about, Calvin. So this goes infinite. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit too. Um, so the red terror, whenever a red source you control deals damage to one of or more permanents and or players, put a 1/1 counter on the red terror. And so S and H is a red card. It'll deal damage, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then S and H goes, hey, you put a counter on there. I'm going to do damage again, which puts a counter on red terror. Rinse and repeat. So that's a go tall, but it's kind of just like a combo piece, and I think that probably works. Taurine Mauler, whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. Not nearly as good as Mana Gorger, but it's a go tall type card. And then the next stack is War Elemental. Comes into play, sacrifice, and unless an opponent was dealt damage this turn. Whenever damage is dealt to an opponent, put that many 1/1 counters on War Elemental. Oh. Hmm. Yeah, same thing as the Red Terror. All right. Okay. I thought it was when it comes into play, you get to put a bunch of 1/1 counters on it for as much damage as you've dealt. This is just another auto win. Hmm. This is super, super. I might just play it one way combo wise, and then and then switch things out. That could be fun. That seems mean. So right now I'm sitting at 3 combos. Yeesh. Don't know about that. All right. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, bolster 1, which is just adding counters. Let's see. It's kind of random. It's not even as good as those. Yeah. All right. Luminarch Aspirant. I got a balloon on under me. At the beginning of combat, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. That's not doing enough. Thalia's Lieutenant. Put a 1/1 counter on each other human when it ETBs, and whenever another human ETBs, put a 1/1 counter on it. I don't think I have enough humans. I don't think I have enough artifacts for this to be good. Ingenious Smith could be something. This is something that I think is going to be fun. Gideon's Avenger. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, put a 1/1 counter on Gideon's Avenger. That's on the go tall section. Valiant Hunter. You can monster it is X and then put lifelink counters on up to X target creatures. You can just try and dump a bunch into there. Hey, lifelink. We'll cut it. That's cut. Lulu. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, put a 1/1 counter on each tapped creature you control, then untap them. Oh, each tapped creature. So that's saying like, if you're being aggressive, you get to be 1/1 counters on that stuff. That at least goes there. Strength of the Tajuru. A multi-kicker, put a bunch of counters. That's a go tall type thing. Branching evolution. If one or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many 1/1 counters would be put on that creature instead. And so this kind of just doubles the amount of counters going on something. So, Ayo, the Dawn Sky. Put 2/1/1 counters on each permanent you control. That's a creature or a vehicle. If it dies, probably not worth it in that regard. Sky Boon Evangelist, 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, supports 6. So put a 1/1 counter on up to 6 other target creatures. Whenever a creature with a counter on it attacks one of your opponents, that creature gains flying until end of turn. So this is kind of put a counter on everything. So we'll see. Ugh. Almost done. All right. Almost done with this bit. We've made a bunch of cuts at this point. We're doing all right. We're doing all right, folks. And if you're not watching live, you can watch at, 1.5, 2 times speed, and that'll get you through this quicker. So when bosses chauffeur ETBs, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to 1 plus a number of other creatures you control, so it goes high. Whenever another creature ETBs under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then whenever it dies, create a 1/1 token for each counter on it. That's kind of doing a lot. It's a go tall type card. Johnny Goldmane putting 1/1 counters on all your creatures goes wide. Um, the negative on a Johnny Steadfast and put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty on everything. So let's go wide. Sunscorch Region is a go high whenever an opponent casts a spell. 1/1 counter on it. Halana and Elena. First strike reach. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X 1/1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is H and A's power. That creature gains haste until end of turn. But no putting 1/1 counters on it for the power. Eh, eh. Predatory Hunger. Whenever an opponent successfully casts a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on enchanted creature. That kind of goes just tall. Awakening of Vitu Ghazi. Put 9 1/1 counters on a land and turn it into a creature for 5 mana. That's a go tall type card, but we're gonna get rid of that. All right. Conclave Sledge Captain. Backup, backup, backup. So you can put 1/1 counters on stuff and they get this ability, which is whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 counters on it. Also the trample part. So that could be worth it. It's kind of like indiscriminate type thing. Towering Titan comes into play, puts a bunch of 1/1 counters on it. There it is. Titania's command is there to put 2/1 counters on each creature you control. That's going wide. Death's presence. Whenever a creature you control dies, put X 1/1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the power of the creature that died. That's going tall, technically. Shape of the Witigo, also going tall. 6 mana, 6 counters. We'll cut that. Hungering Hydra. X is the counters on it. And then whenever it deals damage, put that many 1/1 counters on it. Is dealt damage, put that many 1/1 counters on it. We'll probably cut that. Protein Hydra, which is a go tall type card. So if it survives, you put that many counters on it. So kind of similar. Hungry Protein. We'll get rid of both of those. Whenever Ancient Bronze Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll d20 and then put X 1/1 counters on each of up to 2 target creatures where X is the result. Probably too fat. Puts a lot of counters out there. That's a go tall kind of card, but we'll get rid of that. Primordial Hydra enters with X counters on it at the beginning, double the amount of counters if you have 10 or more on it. It has trample. This is a card that gets out of hand. Capricorpian X is the counters on it, and then whenever you attack somebody with it, they can pay 2 to put a 1/1 counter on it and have it attack somebody else. That seems kind of fun in this. You may reselect which player Capricorn is attacking. Only the player Capricornia is attacking may activate this ability, and only during the declare attack steps. It could be fun. Yeah, probably going tall. All right. This is redistributing 8/1/1 counters. We'll get rid of that. And Seki, that's 1/1 counters, sacrifice yadas. All right. Primeval Protector costs 1 less for each creature your opponents control. And then when it ETBs, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. I'm down with that. This is actually make it. Arcbound Crusher. Whenever another artifact comes into play, put a 1/1 counter on it. Modular. That's going tall. Sword of Hours. Put a 1/1 counter on it. And then whenever a crypt creature deals combat damage, roll a d12. If the result is greater than the damage dealt to the result is 12, or the result is 12, double the number of 1/1 counters on that creature. This would be a go tall type thing, but we're getting rid of it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it. We have that there. All right. Enduring Scale Lord. Whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on another creature you control, you may put a 1/1 counter on Enduring Scale Lord. So it's like, yeah, it's going tall. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it and Juniper Order Ranger. So I'll put that in that section. Bright Palm Soul Awakener has backup 1, but whenever this creature attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So this is kind of a go tall style thing. Mael's Area. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 counter on each creature if you control a creature with power 5 or greater. Then you gain 10 life. If you control a creature with power 10 or greater, then you win the game if you control a creature with power 20 or greater. So more than likely, you're just going to be putting 1/1 counters on everything during your upkeep. That's likely what's going to happen. Retaliator Griffin, whenever you're dealt damage, you put that many 1/1 counters on it. So that's kind of cool. Dragon Broodmother, it is a Devour type card, so we will cut it. And Arcus Acolyte, Reach, lifelink, 2/2, Outlast for, and then each other creature you control without a 1/1 counter on it has Outlast. I think we're gonna cut this. I think we're gonna have enough support on giving everything counters. So out of this, I don't think I don't think I like this bit. Another creature. I don't think I like them. Don't like them. All right, this is the kind of going back and forth. I probably don't have that. I probably don't. That probably doesn't matter. I like retreat. Probably get cut roaring earth. Rite of passage is probably all right at this point. I will keep Conclave Sledge Captain in for now. Helana as well. We're fat there. We got a lot of high CMC stuff. And so we'll cut that right there. All right. Here's the stuff that I probably don't want to get rid of as the go wide. Let's see. I exile target player's graveyard. Gain 1 life for each card exiled this way. Search your library for up to 2 land cards. Put them on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. I don't hate it. Like that. We'll get rid of Skyboon Evangelist. I think we get rid of Lulu. Kind of making an Ajani deck. Pledge of Unity, I'm down. 1 counter on each creature you control. 5 mana is kind of a lot. I like Renegade Crassus. We'll get rid of the Loyal Guardian for now. Nissa, Cathar's Crusade, Felidar Retreat, Micaeus. I think we get rid of Victory's Envoy. That's still mint right there doing that. All right, this is the going tall. This is kind of what AJ was talking about a little bit here. And that might just be what I want. What do I want to have happen? Keep. We can cut. Keep Capricorn. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Predatory Hunger, Sunscorch. I don't care about Strength of Tojaru. See. War Elemental, the Red Terror, Ignition Team. Nah. Put a 1/1 counter on it for each attacking creature. Nah, we'll get rid of that. Hero's Bane can go. Increasing Savagery. Forgotten Ancient. Managorgia Hydra. Probably get rid of Growth. Then Phantom. Bone Sabers. I like Wildborn Preserver. This is just kind of like, what do I want type card? I mean, there's tons here, so we'll get rid of that. And for now, we'll keep Avatar and Scutma. All right. Didn't do too bad there. Made a lot of cuts. How many counter bullshit do we got in here? Still plenty. Still plenty. Yikes. But that was a much bigger. Okay, we'll go CMC. I'm going to take a drink real quick here. Ooh, hour 20. Ooh. Let's look at that. Look at that CMC here. All right. Write that over. 2, 3, 4. That's just big. 4, 3, 3s, 5s. Go. There we go. 4, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. And so I think I like the idea of like giving all the creatures +1/+1 counters on it. having stuff increase from that, potentially tokens. But I think this might be able to get boiled down decently quick here. I'll try and get aggressive because especially if we're gonna go combo-y, we got Red Terror, the other red thing, we got Heliod with Walking Ballista, and we got the Archangel with Spike Feeder. I think that can kind of cut down what the shit I'm doing. Archangel of is it Thune? I don't even know. And so I think we could just try and do our thing, huh? 4, 5. What do you guys think so far? Just use that as 1. Put that at like a 4. I don't even care about that. That at 4. 3, 2. Seven. Ugh. Yeah. Gotta clean that up a bit. Figure out what's going on here. 2, 4, 5, 2, 3. 2. We'll cut that. We'll cut that too. 3, 1, 6, 3, 4, 5, 4, 6. That's X. That's X. And that can go down, but we'll count that at 6. 2, 2, 3, 4s. Technically lower as well. 2, 3, 3, 2, 5, 1, 2, 2, 3. 5, that'll be higher. 3, 1, 6, 1, 3, 4. I think I can get rid of Bank Buster. 2, 5, 4s. 1, 3, 4. All right. Let's see here. That's a fat stack. We'll definitely have to cut down on that. I mean, we got about 5 combos in here. Definitely not used to that. I might just go all out with that and just whoopsie. Allow that to happen. So Great Henge is perfect. Aberrant, Steel. I think we can actually get rid of the doublers like all together, especially if we're combo. Like I don't care about these 6, 5, 6, 7 mana cards that. So I think we can cut that. Okay, cutting that. I like Avenger. I like that. Machias. Ignition Team like just seems huge. 15. We'll see. All right. With X counters on it, and then pay 2, put a 1/1 counter on Capricornia. Then you may reselect which player, so that person gets to reselect who it's attacking. Only the player that it's attacking may activate this ability only during the declare attacker step. Can't attack its controller, clearly. Um, but that seems fun. That seems like fun. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But they could just send it and kill it. We can cut that. We can cut that. Don't get too goofy, Lau. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. It's too many. Camaraderie, Hamza, Chandra's Ignition. Nothing seems too bad there. Fiendish Duo, like I said, we'll get rid of those. I don't think we really need them, especially with the combos that we got going on. Probably get rid of Conclave Sledge Captain as well. That'd work better if we're going tall. Let's see here. Shamanic Revelation, just drawing a bunch of cards, but we're pretty high. Kamiya Celebrant, Defiler of Vigor. I don't think Herald of War is just going to do enough, especially since we got rid of Gisela. Magmasaur comes into play with 5/1/1 counters on it during your upkeep. So it's 5 mana, it'll deal 5 damage, and then I can remove to take a 1/1 counter on it, and it deals damage for each 1/1 counter on it to each creature without flying and each player. So it's likely at least 5 damage to each non-flying creature and each player. Now, if I can give that lifelink, oh boy, kind of like that. That sounds like fun. Damning Verdict works. I like Truth. Uncivil Unrest. If a creature you control with 1/1 counters on it would deal damage to a permanent or player, deals double that damage instead. I still like that one. I like the Cauldron. Whenever this creature attacks, return target non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is this creature's power. Target non-land permanent card. That's pretty damn good. That's a damn good card. Does it work here? Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. If that's another creature, it gains the following abilities until end of turn. Um, it probably just doesn't work on this deck, but I really like that now that I'm kind of reading it a bunch. Archangel of Thune is in there. Colonial Hydra, yeah. Cathar's Crusade, yeah. Sunscorch Regent, yeah. Boss's Chauffeur. So I get a 1/1 counter for each creature you control, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever it dies, make a bunch of tokens. 1 plus the number of other creatures you control. We'll cut that. I'm probably regretting that. Kind of like that idea. We're keeping that. We're keeping Boss's Chauffeur for a little bit. All right. Let's see how this goes. All right. Minsk and Boo. I think Leonore is not enough drawing. It's a 4 mana. Not going to draw me a lot of cards. And I think that's going to be a problem. Etched Oracle, on the other hand, I like the idea of that, and Mindless Automaton. I like both those cards in here. Armorcraft Judge, yeah. I like Rampant Rejuvenator for sure. Crystalline Crawler, I'm okay with. Expand the Sphere, I like that a bunch. 1/1 counter on each creature they control. Each foe chooses one untapped creature they control, then taps the rest. I'm okay with that. Pelucranos, I think that's probably too mana intensive. And not gonna I don't have any death touch in here, so I think we can get rid of that. Walking Ballista just for combo's sake. Let's keep it. Um, and as a battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each of any number of target creatures and charge counters on each. So this also puts 1/1 counters on everything. Pay one, tap it, sacrifice another artifact, proliferate. I'm down with that. Of creatures and a charge counter on each of any number of target creatures and a charge. So I could put it on that, and I can put a charge counter on each of any number of target artifacts. So I could put both on there. Okay. Thundering Raiju. X is the number of modified creatures you control. So put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then Thundering Raiju deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. It's doesn't work here? Is that what's going on? Like, it just feels awkward? It's probably just awkward. That's probably what's going on. I dig the lifelink in here. Tyrant Guard makes a ton of sense. Kerbis, yeah. Okay. Shalai. Lathiel. Cradle Vitality. I don't know if I like Cradle Vitality in here because it's going to be a lot of like, not a lot of life gain other than S and H. We'll cut that. Asri's Lieutenant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So you could put that 1/1 counter on him, but you don't have to. Hmm. I don't hate it. This one I don't think I like. H and A, given like 2, 3 counters or whatever. First strike reach at 4 mana. We can cut that. Ajani Goldmane and Steadfast and Great Hearted, Felidar, Retaliator Griffin. That kind of just stops people from attacking you, which isn't a bad thing. But I want counters to go on, so we'll get rid of that. Double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature. On target attacks. Double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature. That creature can't be blocked by creatures. So just off that attack trigger. Oh, it's not as easy as Colonia Hydra, but it's not bad. Arcbound Crusher. I like that this can just adjust. I don't have a lot of artifact creatures, though. That's the problem. Red Terror stays. So does Forgotten Ancient. This is just whenever any artifact comes into play. So Dockside Distortionist puts a bunch of counters on there. Walking Ballista could be nice with that. Okay. Stick around. We'll let that stick around a little bit. All right. 3-spot Angelic Sleuth. Kind of like the idea of clues. I mean, I don't love it because it doesn't do anything for me if creatures don't die, but then clues kind of also. All right. Honor the God Pharaoh. Gets me a creature, draws me 2 cards. I'm down. Tireless Tracker is that clue thing again. Inspiring Call is dope. Snake Umbra's good. Yep. Yep. Kami. Fertile Did is aight. Glistening Sphere. Kodama is going to be good. Faeburrow Elder. So this is going to be a 3/3 that can tap for 3 mana. It has Vigilance. Um, but I'm going to be using it a ton, I think. I'd probably just rather have Bloom Tender. Is that what I'm saying? Probably. What are we doing here? I think we can cut it. I think we can cut it. We're having a slime. It's not doing anything. I think I'd rather have the targeted removal with Line Sash and Scoos. Let's get rid of that. I like collective effort in here, I think. Ion Storm seems solid. Chaos Warp. We'll see how many like dealing with other permanents there is, but Evolution Sage makes sense. Park Height Maverick. I don't know if I love this as a proliferate, but we'll keep it in there. Champion Lambholt, I'm down. Like I said, I like this one. I like the flying for everything is good. You control. I like the trample. Do I like the trample enough is a question. Gives Shalai lifelink. Gives Shalai indestructible. Protection from spells. Hinder Vines. Rhythm of the Wild is giving the Riot various protection. Indestructible. Spike Feeder. Heliod for sure. Resourceful defense. Lazy L. Okay, Scurry Oak is evolve, creating creatures, 1/1 counters. That makes sense to me. Rite of Passage, I could ditch that. I don't have anything in here that can initiate. Like, I got rid of the Chandra's Outburst, so I'm not really. I'd have to be pretty aggressive. Retreat to Kazandu. I'm kind of doing a little bit of both of what I'm doing. 1/1 counters on everything. Everything. Tari Mauler is just kind of boring. It probably would do a lot of work here, though. This would be like the 4th out of the 4 cards that do that. Let's cut that. Or Elemental is another combo. Ruh-roh. All right, where are we at? Library, Songs of Freyalise. I think those creatures gain Vigilance, Trample. Oh, that puts 1/1 counters on everything too. So I could be convinced with that. Land, tap. Cut Druid of the Anima. I like Gyre Sage. It's a little bit of a evolved deck going on here. Biophagus. Thornscape Familiar. Dockside. Scholar makes sense. Overflowing Chalice. Beautiful Signet. I like both the Scoos and the Sash. Canker Bloom makes sense to me. Shinewind. Is that something I care about? Not necessarily. I think I have enough. I don't have to use it either. It's just a 1/1 that can benefit. Ashling the Pilgrim I like. Each creature and each player. Okay. Again, if I can give that lifelink, not a bad deal. Target creature and proliferate. Just kind of choose one. All right. Permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Proliferate. I'm going to have to check how many artifacts I have. Oh, I guess that could be nice. I do have the clues. I have the clues. There's a couple of things that sacrifice artifacts, right? I have the clues. That works. I'm down. Cool. Greaves, Boots. Do I care about the trample? I don't have many warriors. I don't care about that. Let's cut that for now. Okay, let's go back, and I think we get rid of the Outlast Trampler as well. I think we can cut that as well. That one. Might be regretful. I'd rather have Flying and Lifelink. I don't know how crazy that sounds, but we got to get aggressive. Heroic, Together Forever. Bop, bada bop. If we're going life gain, I like those. We'll kind of keep that. Oath of Ajani. Reach and Trample. With a 1/1 counter on it for each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. That's all it's doing. It's cheat. Cheat. Okay. Here's Guile, Esper, Keen, Birds, Soul, Hopeful Initiate. Yeah. Thirsting Roots. I'm down with that. Silk Guard, Protection, Counters, Selfless Savior. Kind of like them both. I'd probably rather want Selfless. Yeah. Da, 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 da. Kind of like them all. Okay. Oh, that's still a thick one, but we're probably 50% cut from the initial start, right? Right? That's how many we cut so far. Making progress. That's what matters. That's what counts. You just got to keep on saying, let's cut this, let's cut that. All right, let's cut this into types. So artifacts, creatures, enchantments. Let's see what we got going on here. We might just be thick. Might not be. I don't know. It's hard to tell when you got 100 plus cards sitting there. It's good to just kind of break it up and go, you know what? We don't need that many of this thing or that thing or that thing in between. Shit. Battles? What the hell am I supposed to do with battles? I had a good 6 grid thing. Planeswalkers go here, so I guess battle can go in that place, even though I have some planeswalkers in this deck. I just fairly rare. Creatures. Bippity, boppity, boom. So, yeah. Okay. I think I'm decently happy getting rid of a lot of these cards at this point. I think we can cut Male's Aria. That makes sense. I'm okay with that. If I consider that enchantment, like I'm not going to try and make it a creature, but you never know. Creature. Creature sorcery. Oops. I don't have a ton of artifacts, but it's awesome. Let's try and go through this decently quick. I know a lot of them are going to be creatures. I am a creature heavy kind of guy. Oh, the planeswalker, huh? Sorcery, creatures. All right. Tons and tons of creatures. Yeah, definitely feels like a lot here. All right, let's look at our I like the walkers that give +1/+1 to everything, potentially repeatable. So, yeah, and that gains me, and they kind of gave me life too, which is another nice thing. If I go +1, let's see here. The 3/1/1 counters on a creature with trample or haste, which a lot of cards give haste until end of turn. So there's that. Sacrifice the creature was a hamster. Draw X cards. Um. So 1/1 comes into play. Put 3/1/1 counters on it. Trample and haste. So it's a 4/4. Deals 3 damage. And then potentially proliferate or any other things going on. And then the next turn, deal damage. Draw cards. Oh, I hate that. I don't hate that. That's getting some work in. Right? All right. Don't hate any of those. Woof. All right. Enchantment wise, Uncivil Unrest, Cathar's Crusade, Philidar. Yep. Ion Storm is going to give me a little bit of reach. Or charge counter. Family's Favor. Let me reread that. Whenever this creature attack, put a shield counter on target attacking creature. Until end of turn, it gains. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, remove a shield counter from it. If you do, draw a card. And if you don't, it has a shield counter, which is a protective thingy on it. So if it dies, you remove that shield counter. And that can be proliferated. That's dope. Dope. Scourge of the Nobilis. I think I would rather get rid of that. And probably Shield of the Oversoul as well, which I don't love. But Dense Foliage makes sense. Rhythm of the Wild. Heliod, Sun Crowned. Retreat to Kazandu. 2 life. Doubling the amount of counters going on. Sylvan Library, Song of Freyalise, Ordeal, Together Forever, Oath of Ajani, there's Guile, Keen Sense, Spirit Link, Hardened Scales, Predatory Hunger. Kind of like the idea of Predatory Hunger in here. If I go with also like the opponents playing a spell, cast a creature spell type thing that could be going on. Probably got to cut it. Bummer. No. We'll keep it for now. Got a couple of things from there. Let's go Artifact. Bill, what up, man? Likely going to for SmithCon. This should be done since that I'll have 2 weeks to kind of spruce it up. So SmithCon, this should be done, and you'll be able to see a deck list or just probably see it there. Should be fun. Great Henge is perfect for this. Contagion Engine is proliferating. Proliferate. Cauldron of Souls probably is just forever kept around. Cut Cauldron of Souls. Astral Cornucopia, Glistening Sphere, Arcane, Everflowing, Throne of Geth. I like that. Strionic Resonator. Now the question ends up being I'm not going super tall. It's more just like a bunch of little triggers, like 2 here, 2 there. Um, I mean, the nice thing is it helps with ETBs. It helps with such a good card. But we'll cut it. Boppity bop, 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 bop. All right, those are solid. Instance. Yep. Yeah. Hindered vines. Do I care about that? It's kind of a little bit of a one-sided damage thing. Furious protection, unbreakable formation, gaining life, bippity bop. Like it all. Didn't get rid of any instance there. All right. Camaraderie, Titania's command. Yeah, sorceries. Da, da, dee, da, doo, 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 doo. Unnatural restoration. All right, let's see here. Do I care about Honor the God Pharaoh? I could dig that. All right, creatures get real aggressive here. I gotta get rid of them. All right. Take this in at least two parts. Ignition team. I can see that doing a ton of damage or just being huge. Primordial Hydra, a dig. Machias, Primeval, Aberrant. Do I like Steelbane? Maybe. Bane of Progress. Yup. These are all gorgeous. I don't like Kami. I don't like a lot of these. Target creature you control. I'm going to get rid of Kami of Celebration. Defiler. Yep. Magmasaur. Colonial Hydra. Archangel of Thune. Boss's Chauffeur. Sunscorched Regent. Crystalline Crawler. Each color of mana you spent to cast it. Yeah, so the best I could do is a 3 plus whatever's added. That's going to get some work in potentially. Etched, Automaton, Lathiel, Shalai, Spike Weaver. Hubris is nice because it just proliferate could be nice. Tyrant Guard, Abzan gives the lifelink. Sacrificing artifacts, proliferating, walking ballista. I think we can get rid of Basri. I think we get rid of Basri. Rid Terror. Now, this is a big reason why, like, tutors suck. If I could just go Worldly Tutor, Red Terror next turn, I'll win. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. So that would kind of suck. Arcbound Crusher with the clues ain't awful. It ain't bad. I'm not mad at it. All right. We got rid of a handful of them. Could be rough, though, here. Flying will get some shit through. Scurry. I think we can cut Scurry Oak. Thought that was cool, but I think we want to make a little bit of room for cards that go tall. The other thing that I like about this idea is that, like, the support cards, like Dockside, get a 1/1 counter on it and become a little bit something extra. Cankabloom, Shinewind, Ashling. I like them triggers. Yeesh. Oh, oh. Another non-human creature enters the battlefield. Under your control, you may pay X. If you do, put X 1/1 counters on Wild Bloom Preserver. Bam. All right. How many creatures am I really gonna have? Those two might go. Do 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 do. Cut Scute Mob and Selfless Survivor. I might want to get like the one thing in here anyway. Okay, let's put it into spots of what they're actually doing here. So protection, go back to that initial spot. I don't know what to do with that. So Soul's a Tenant, we'll just do the life gain stuff. Removal, ramp, draw. We'll say that's just counters going tall. That might be a little bit different. So +1s. Put on another permanent you control. If it's the first time, put a 1/1 counter. I've been put on that permanent this turn. Put a 1/1 counter on this. So this is going tall. That's a going tall kind of card. All right, that's going wide, but also bullshit. We got lifelink bullshit of a zone. Oh, good idea. That's a good point. Proliferate. Proliferate. Removals. That's a good question. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. Manas. Bop, bop, bop. All right. This is going tall. Going kind of wide. And then that's just helping out. Okay. Some flying goes down there. That makes it tough. That's proliferate, proliferate. Mana, mana, mana. That's just going tall. Consider that removal. We'll do that. That's lifelink. That's some bullshit. Protection, protection, protection. Lifelink, draw, draw, draw. Ramps. Oh, that's also some life gain bullshit. So sweetness, going tall. Consider that removal. Manas, protection. All right. I guess we got a token section. That's technically going wide as well. Whoop, sorry. Sorry. We will consider that a going wide card. Wides, talls. We're just gonna have to get rid of some of them talls. I think there's just too many's. Oh, this is actually a going wide type card. Technically, proliferate would be a go wide type card, right? All right, let's think of proliferate as a go wide type card. That is technically protection. That's removals. Drawing, protections. Da-da-do. Yeah, there's just so much protection in here. I don't think that's going to be good. All right, proliferate. Manas. Removal. That is always mana. Going tall. Helping out. Lifelink. Draw. Ramps. Technically going tall, we'll call that. It's technically some draw. Moveable, draw. Okay, now that we're kind of half figuring out what the hell is going on. All right. Like I said, okay. Let's look at our draw again. Let's see what we got. What are we considering draw? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15, I'm not going to attack any of this at this point. And I might just leave that out of the conversation. I'm going to try and just kind of be real aggressive here. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 27. Okay. What we want to do, let's try and get this down to 20. So cutting 7. Like the 1/1 counters there. Yep. Astral Cornucopia. How much do I care about that? Glistening Sphere makes a ton of sense. Arcane Signet for sure. Soul Ring. 2 1/1 counters on everything. 2 bears. 2 lands. 2 1/1s. It's top end maybe. I like the proliferate still. I want that to be there for sure. Fertile did. Yep. Okay. Fertile did can get cut. Sadly. Let's see here. 1, 2. How aggressive do I think I can be? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17. Let's cut Titania's command. King, Glistening Sphere. Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible until end of turn. I still like the idea of these things giving me more mana later on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Question is how many spells I'm going to be casting? Give me 3. That'll give me a bunch. That's da. Might be Thornscape Familiar. Yep. Kodama the West Tree. It's got to be one of the best cards in here, right? But I'd rather have it in my Hydra deck. Rishkar, Yang, 1/1 counters on stuff. Yep. Oh my. Okay. So those two can go. Makes a ton of sense. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So still want to get rid of 3-ish. That's the part. All right. Counter, land. Creatures tapping for mana. 2 turns, which is good. Allows me to just be aggressive. I think we can get rid of Song of Freyalise. Arcane Signet. It could be something too. Expand the Spheres. Thirsting Roots. Hamza. Defiler of Vigor. Each creature you control. Crystalline Crawler. Yeah. Tap, add a mana. Same thing here. Have green. Kami. Birds. School of New Horizons. All right. For now, I think I'm okay with that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 22. All right. Little shy on that, but that's all right too. That's all right. Let's see what we got for removal, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, let's check out. Move some stuff over. 2 damage to any target. So that'd be technically creature. That'd be creature. That'd be anything. That's creature removal. Creature removal. This is enchantment and creature, mostly a creature. Artifact and enchantment. Artifact and enchantment. Creature. These are graveyard. That is creature. Artifact enchantment. Shinewind is just enchantment. This is technically just enchantment. I like proliferate, dominating verdict, 1/1 counters, 1/1 counters, removal. They're all doing stuff. I think Shinewind goes. I think. Ooh. I think we get rid of Scooz, Sash, and Shinewind. That's not good. Probably not. Get rid of those. Probably Ion Storm. Because I'd rather have like Ashling's the Pilgrim, Magmasaur. We got Walking Ballista that can do a little bit. Chandra's Incinerate. I think we can get rid of Ion Storm. That's okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. So counters everything. Counters. Deals damage. Sacrifice itself. Creature. Just part of the combo, which I technically don't even need. From Walking Ballista, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. I'm sure that probably helps the combo, but that's probably not the best thing for the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's still a lot, but we made some good aggressive cuts there. All right. I'm not mad about that. Yay. Let's do protection here. Plenty of going on. All right, that's given haste, protection from spells, haste, graveyard stuff, haste in. Well, that's a draw card. I like that. It could probably also be used as removal. Pace. Is there any other graveyard stuff? Guess that's a graveyard bit. Um. Okay. So that's a little bit different than protection. This is, and you may exile that non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may pay it. I think we're gonna get rid of Invasion of Gobakon. It seems really cool. It just seems like a lot of work, but that might just be the definition of um, you know, the what am I trying to say? Getting tired. Might just be the battles there. All right, we got those. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn to another target creature with a 1/1 counter on it. Zippity. It's kind of that. That's just a little. That's just a little guy. And Vigor and Shalai. I wish Hallar could work a little bit better in here. Champion. Another creature enters the battlefield. Under your control, put a 1/1 counter on champion. I like Vigor. I like Shalai. Those are staying. What are we doing here? Indestructible tokens, indestructible. I think an indestructible. We can cut that, I guess. Maybe not the best call, but we can do Teferi's Protection. I think we get rid of Kerbis. I think, do we care about the flying bit? Probably get rid of the flying bit. Bump, bump. I think I like those. Champion. Let's get rid of. Move around counters, which I don't hate either. All right, like Silk Guard, Dense Foliage. Champion just makes stuff unblockable, which I'm down with. 2, 3, 4. I like those two. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 17, which is way too much. Let's be honest here. That's a lot for what's going on. Rough. This goes right there. Okay. I like that. But maybe that part isn't as puts counters on, counter on it, then that creature dies, return it to your hand. Kind of like it. Like. Tyrant, Vigor. We'll get rid of Hinder Vines and keep the Spike Weaver. Like those. Do we get rid of Dense Foliage? Maybe. Maybe. Ugh. Struggling. 22. All right. Just giving a warning. I'm going to be turning this thing off by midnight. I'll give it a count after I get done with the breakdown here, just cutting stuff hard. No, that's kind of... I don't know if I really care about the haste. Deal damage to a permanent or player. Deals double that damage instead. Let's get rid of Rhythm in the Wild. And let's keep Civil Unrest. Still pretty high there. Let's look at how much do I care about this? Angel, Sunscorch. Yeah, lifelink. So I can give a bunch of lifelink, give lifelink, give lifelink. Gain some shits. Counters on everything. Probably can get rid of that. That's probably not doing enough. And these are just kind of going tall things, but I'd rather... I mean, this goes wide, that goes wide. Triggers once per turn. Abzan, Battle Priest. Probably, like, just looking at the stuff, what would I keep if I didn't want to do bullshit? Which would be these, likely that. And I'd still keep like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. All right. So I'd probably still keep that. I'd probably still keep that. And then are we... I don't have it. Oh, I get rid of that. Likely getting rid of that. But I keep that? That doesn't make any sense, does it? So things that can give lifelink. That probably is the best option. Let's cut a bunch of these. 6, 7 cuts there. Woo! I don't know if I like that, but just... All right, move a 1/1 counter, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, which isn't huge, but like with Hardened Scales effect can mean something. Also, I think... Oh, I guess I could go Infinite Life with these two as well. So remove a counter, gain 2 life, gained life, put a 1/1 counter on there. I'm down with that. Spike Feeder works in here. Look at this kind of meanness. Probably end up cutting all of this shit off camera. But I think we're good here. Probably won't have enough life gain for Archangel of Thune. You know how that goes. Animation module, I think, goes wide nicely, and we'll be happy with that. Branching Evolution. 1/1 counters will be put on a creature you control. Twice that many 1/1 counters would be put on that creature instead. Nice. Hardened Scales, Colonia Hydra. If one or more 1/1 counters would be put on any creature you control, put that many +1 counters are put on that creature instead. When it dies, you gain life equal to its power. Okay. Um, those all work. It's becoming a reasonable pile, but I still got these two. Oh. Let's get another drink. Gonna buy you a drink. Okay. I think predatory hunger goes away. Ozolith, resourceful. Yep. Ignition team. So this is the going tall aspect. Um, ignition team can go. I think it's it's a bomb here. Boss's chauffeur can go. Primordial Hydra I like. Forgotten Ancient I'm down. Arcbound Crusher. Gideon's Avenger will get tall. Managorger. War Elemental. So if I proliferate this will go tall. That is, it has Trample. Wildborn Preserver. So are these three just kind of cuts? Man, they're 2 mana though. Ugh. We'll cut all 3 of those. Gotta be aggressive still. All right. So the going tall part, I'm still digging. We got Mana Gorger. We have the Sunscorch Regent, Forgotten Ancient. We got these 2 combo pieces. Arcbound Crusher might be something that I'm willing to get rid of. Because we don't have many artifact creatures. So when it dies, like it's just not going to do a whole ton. Regrettably. Let's see here. So Arcbound Crusher. Is there another artifact creature in here? Oh, I guess the servos are technically something. Artifact creature. No, I don't think so. I think it has some potential. There's Crystalline Crawler. So I got one other. That does not. Oh. Still doesn't make me confident that that's going to hit, but all right. Let's see here. And this is going wide. Cathar's Crusade, definitely. Philidar Retreat. Proliferate. I think I'd rather proliferate. I still don't like this as a proliferate target. I'd rather just have an ETB. Let's get rid of Park Heights Maverick. We're done with that. Yep, I'm done with that. I want the Primeval Protector, Avenger of Zendikar. Whenever it evolves, put a 1/1 counter on it. That does make it tougher. Let's get rid of Renegade Crassus. Because if it didn't proliferate, if I wasn't proliferating, I'd probably be happier with that. Or I just never proliferate the evolve creatures. Ugh. Seems silly. Okay. I can dig all those. Chaos. What do I like for creatures here? I probably like Nissa. I definitely like a Johnny Goldmane. I like the Pledge of Unity because that's just another kind of life gain thing. Gain 3 life. Creatures have vigilance. Let's see this one. Up to one target creature gets +1/+1, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. Put a 1/1. And each planeswalker control, you get an emblem with if a source would deal damage to you or a planeswalker you control, prevent one of that damage. Makes it tough. We'll keep those and we'll probably cut these two. These two? And that's what happening here. All right, let's get a count, and we're at 2.5 hours, and we will see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. 30. 30. 30. We're at 90. 101. 101. Not hating it. Not loving it. So 101. I want to get down. I would probably have 37 land in this. So that means I need 62-ish cards. So I have 40 still to cut. I don't think I'm going to get there in a reasonable amount of time. So I'm going to go through the CMC one more time and then call it a night. All right. So let's do that real quick. Let's see where our curve is looking. Curve is at. Because I think it could be in trouble. I just cut a lot of cards. Are we there? Are we there yet? But there are a lot of cards already there. So call that 2, 3. That's going to be reduced, but I don't know by how much. 1, 2. Just a handful of cards that are important, but I don't know what the reduction rate would be at. 3. That's at 4. 2, 5. Set that at 1, 3. That might just be a 4. 2, 3, 5, 2. This is the third time this ability is resolved this turn. Remove all 1/1 counters from Ashling, and it deals that much damage to each creature and each player. Yeesh. 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 4. 2. That's a 5er. It's probably just a 2er. 3, 4. Would that be at Probably 5 at most. What is the most accurate? What do I want to do here? So it'd be paying 5 gives me 3 into 6 into 12. 4 into 8. Probably 5 is the appropriate amount. 3, 2, 3, 5, 1, 3, 1. Still plenty of things at the one spot. 1, 2. All right, let's go high to low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of like that. Avenger Zendikar, do I care about you? Let's cut that. I mean, one land can put a lot of counters down. And creating a lot of tokens. That's a good point. It's just such a damn good card. I don't dislike any of these. You know, reduction, variable, and 7. That's what we're at. Contagion engine, the double proliferate should get some work in. Chandra's incinerator, vigor, Hamza, Bane of Progress, camaraderie. I can't cut any draw spells at this point. Woof. Because I was at 15. I mean, I'm going to have to go through and kind of adjust that, I think. But Colonial Hydra, Primordial Hydra, Thor's Crusade, Truth and Justice, Damning Verdict, Magmasaur. I like the idea of Magmastar. Then I could potentially give it like lifelink or some shit. If a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. Scorch. Violet of Vigor, Shamanic Revelation. Yeah, there's a little bit of life gain there. Oh, I am not doing so well on the cuts. Let's think about this a little bit, huh? Would deal damage to a permanent or player. It deals double that damage instead. Yada yada. Ooh. Yikes. Trouble. Trouble. I gotta cut 40 cards. And I'm not cutting anything. So I'm coming to an end, if we can say that. I think our Arcbound Crusher can go. I don't think that's going to be doing enough. The Red Terror, Philidor, Filigree, gain 2 life. Do the Ajanis go? I think at least one Ajani goes, which is wild. I thought they would definitely make it. All right, so 4 into 5 into proliferate into. I like that bit right there. We'll cut that Ajani as well. I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Down below 100 at least. Tyrant Guard. Spike Weaver. I like the idea of moving it around a little bit and having it increase. Skin Boo, Expand the Sphere, Crystalline Crawler. Pop, pop, pop. Okay. All right. All right. Branching Evolution, Laziel, 3/3. Source, Gideon's Avenger, Managorger Hydra, War Elemental, Lucian Sage. Gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of lands you control. Down with that. Yep. All that. All right, let's get rid of Dense Foliage. I like it, but I think I might have enough on brand stuff going on. Familiar's Favor. That's protection and a bit of draw. Rishgars, Jing Yang, Kami, Chaos Warp. I think we can get rid of Chaos Warp. Probably a mistake. Honor the God Pharaoh. Can't get rid of any draw at this point until it's a replacement effect. Oh. Let's see here. Conclave Mentor, Micaeus. I think we end up getting rid of Micaeus. Because I think we have enough off-brand that just gives +1/+1 counters to everything. We have some proliferators down here. I can dig that quite a bit. Yeah. Yep. And then the last one, animation module. I guess that one can go. I feel like there can be a lot of tokens there with leftover. But who cares, right? Who cares? Spirit Link? Proliferate. Yeah, that's it. I did not cut a ton there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's just 6 cards. Down to like 95. All right, down to 95. Plenty of cards that still need to be cut. But we're going to call it a night at this point. It's been a long time. Everybody that joined or watched or saw this, I appreciate you for coming out and giving it a thumbs up or subscribing. If you have a Shalai and Hallar list, I hope that you're enjoying it. Maybe I gave you some ideas. Maybe you went a different direction totally. Either way, I hope you have fun with it. Remember to check out the CommanderSmith podcast. That's me and my cousin Adam. We hang out, have a good time, and play a couple of games and have a main segment. We got buttons like this.
True story, bro.
And so actually the most used one is this one.
Kid can't even read.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks either way. Have a good night. Bye.